Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, dear friends, welcome to this closing ceremony of the Latin America and the Caribbean Climate Week 2023 here in Panama. Let me start out by thanking the government of Panama for hosting this year's LACCW and providing the platform for thematic track discussions and many other events. We are not sharing summaries on top takeaways at this ceremony, but we're inviting you all to visit the Climate Week homepage and to visit the output reports, which will be published within the next couple of weeks. I would also like to thank our global partners, the World Bank, the United Nations Environment Programme, the United Nations Development Programme, and all our regional partners for ongoing collaboration on the thematic tracks and other work in preparation of this Climate Week. And finally, I want to thank our partners in the region, especially for your support in making this event possible. Without you, this would not happen. It has been, I believe, a very fruitful, interesting, and positive week. We have had more than 2,000 participants here on site. We have had many, many more joining us online. And we appreciate all of you to working with us through everything, including joining this session, be it virtually or in person. This official closing ceremony will feature perspectives from partners and closing remarks by UN Climate Change and the government of Panama. So let me first introduce Lies Faruqi, who's a team leader for environment at the UNDP Regional Hub for Latin America and Caribbean, and he will join us online today. Over to you, Lies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Niklas, for this, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you all, esteemed speakers and participants who are joining us now, either in the meeting room or online. So let me just begin by saying that the LAC Climate Week has provided significant opportunities to discuss the important climate and development-related issues that we are facing in the region, but also around the world. It has allowed us to gather strategic inputs and has opened the space to further assess country needs as they evolve. Finally, it has also allowed us to identify new emerging needs and challenges for implementing the Paris Agreement. On adaptation and building climate resilience, let me say that this has been a key issue repeatedly mentioned by countries in the region. Discussions are emphasizing the regional and transboundary approaches that are necessary to adapt to the impacts of climate change. Conversations underscored that approaches that put communities at the center while valuing the role that ecosystems provide is pivotal for long-term success. The regional and local knowledge was also highlighted as a means for innovation and creating a sense of ownership. Another common aspect that surfaced during all the different sessions throughout the week is the data gap. A just transition to a low carbon economy will require to strengthen data and information systems for the formulation of evidence-based policies and plans, attracting climate-friendly investments, and tracking and reporting of progress of climate actions. I'm not sure you can hear me.
We can both hear you and see you, so please go ahead. Thank you. Although now we can't hear you.
Yes, okay. So I was saying that data and information systems for the formulation of evidence-based policies and plans is key, attracting climate-friendly investments and tracking and reporting of progress of climate actions. Strengthening the science policy interface and capacity building to help target interventions is needed to ensure that they reach those most in need. The importance of monitoring and indicators through practical approaches and systematizing these and aligning this to national indicators was also repeatedly mentioned. And in this sense, the work that development agencies do to facilitate is a key contribution. Climate finance again, a topic that came up across the week, is also critical. LAC countries are currently struggling with a range of challenges, including high inflation, limited capital inflows, heightened social tensions, heavy reliance on natural resources, deteriorated fiscal indicators, elevated interest rates, and more stringent monetary policies. These factors collectively obstruct credit expansion and hinder economic growth and energy investment. Nevertheless, many countries are already exploring innovative and sustainable finance approaches in the LAC region, leading the way on the implementation of blended finance schemes, debt instruments, and de-risking strategies. Notable examples include Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, Belize, Colombia, Ecuador, and many others. We are very pleased to see that the involvement of the private sector ramped up from last Climate Week. The private sector seems to understand that their business model can be very well aligned and substantially contribute to achieve the Paris Agreement objectives, while also improving their own productivity and fostering the creation of green jobs at the same time. The development of plans and strategies that are actionable and can promote investments at scale were highlighted in many of the sessions with the private sector. The participation of youth was also a trending topic during this week. Their participation and engagement were clearly inspiring and refreshing. We see that their involvement has evolved to a point where we could hear meaningful, innovative, and insightful proposals to implement the Glasgow Work Programme on Action for Climate Empowerment. This is a clear indication that the youth in LAC is well informed and even more motivated to join the fight against the effects of climate change. In terms of energy, countries in the region have huge potential to accelerate the clean energy transition. However, finance at speed and scale is needed to foster these investments. It is imperative to establish integrated financial national frameworks tailored to each country that incorporate various instruments such as debt instruments, including just energy transition bonds and loans, blended finance solutions for energy efficiency and renewable energy. It is also fundamental to support de-risking strategies aimed at unlocking private sector capital while also shifting fossil fuel subsidies towards clean investments. The transport sector was a central topic during this week. To advance low-carbon urban mobility in LAC and the implementation of NDCs, the region must implement more demand-based initiatives focused on urban planning. This will require better policy cohesion and coordination among national, regional, and local governments to unlock finance. Given the contribution to emissions from the freight transportation in the region in particular, we need to focus on this transportation mode specifically to implement better practices. It is essential that the inventory carried out during this Climate Week recognizes the advances and actions to promote gender equality that the countries in the region have achieved through their climate agendas. A series of key recommendations need to be proposed so that the future gender action plan of the Convention includes priority areas and activities that can support the implementation of national gender commitments and climate actions that are innovative, inclusive, and gender transformative. All these topics and trending issues that were presented during this week confirm the importance of the regional climate weeks as a crucial space where countries and non-state actors can amplify their voices, define priorities, and find common solutions, which must be reflected in the global stocktake process to be concluded at COP28. To close, UNDP extends its gratitude to the government of Panama for their hospitality, as well as to UNFCCC and other global and regional partners who, despite the current challenges that the country is facing, made sure that this space and these discussions could actually take place. UNDP stands ready to continue supporting all countries in LAC to keep the momentum towards the next COP in Dubai. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Faruqi. I think that was food for thought and very well put. I would like now to invite Mr. Sudarashan Kanagaraya, who is Practice Manager of Strategy, Knowledge and Outreach for the Climate Change Group at the World Bank, also online. Please, Mr. Sudarashan.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me and see me.
We both see you and hear you very well. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a privilege for me to speak to you on behalf of the World Bank to close the Latin America and Caribbean Climate Week for 2023. Many thanks to the government of Panama for hosting this week and to the UNFCCC and partners for organizing today's session and inviting me to speak to you today. Our thoughts are with the people of Mexico who this week have been hit by Hurricane Otis. Mexico, as many other countries in Latin America and Caribbean, are already experiencing the impacts of climate change. Climate-related disasters such as hurricanes, droughts, fires, and floods are becoming increasingly frequent and intense in Latin America and the Caribbean region. The LAC region climate change is already causing economic damage and threatens to increase rates of extreme poverty. Climate shocks reduce the income of the poorest in the region by more than double and could push an estimated 2 to 5 million people in the region into extreme poverty by 2030. Without climate action, by 2050, 17 million people in the LAC region could be forced to move to escape climate impacts, increasing urban population growth by up to 10%. Climate-related extreme events in the region are also disrupting power and transport systems. Infrastructure disruptions cost more than 1% of GDP on average across the region and up to 2% annually in several Central American countries. As you all know, the negative impact and cost of extreme events in the Latin American small island states are also equally high. The World Bank is committed to supporting countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, including the SIDS, achieve their development and climate goals through analytical work, financing, and technical assistance. Our new core diagnostic reports, which we call Country Climate and Development Reports, CCDRs, promote the integration of climate change consideration into development policies and growth. For Latin America and the Caribbean region, we have completed the first 5 country climate and development reports in Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Honduras, and Peru, with more to come. CCDRs help countries prioritize their own most impactful actions that can reduce greenhouse gas emissions and boost adaptation, building on rigorous data and research and identifying the main sources of GHG emission and climate vulnerabilities. This week has been an important opportunity for us to interact with governments and other partners for strengthened collaboration on climate and development agenda. The World Bank and the IFC have had the honor to contribute to the program through a series of side events and track events. Our contributions have ranged from critically important topics such as climate finance, carbon markets, to nature-based solutions, energy transition, and transport. This year's Latin America and Caribbean Climate Week was particularly important as its results will feed into the global stocktake process. The global stocktake is key to raise awareness that the world is way off course to reach the 1.5 degree goal. But importantly, and on the positive side, in addition to highlighting regional challenges, this week was an opportunity to identify priorities for the region to get back on track and achieve the objectives of Paris Agreement and to share inspiring climate solutions from the region. The World Bank is ready to continue working together with the countries and partners in the Latin America and Caribbean region going forward on this agenda to COP28 and beyond. I will end thanking you for the many interactions the World Bank team has had with you over the course of the week, and by asking you humbly to continue to take every opportunity to play your part, very importantly, your part to protect the only livable planet we have. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kanagaran. I now have a pleasure to invite my colleague, Donald Cooper, Don, Director of the Transparency Division of UNFCCC, also online. Don, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. It is always quite a fascinating experience to have the opportunity to engage with those who are on the front line serving as our heroes for climate. I want to thank you, Nicholas, for your steady hand in what has been a challenging week. I am grateful for the opportunity to join you for this closing ceremony, even though for the first time I'm actually doing it remotely. This has emerged as an important way to keep these discussions productive all week. Let me first state our appreciation to the government of Panama, unbelievable appreciation, for hosting this Latin American and Caribbean Climate Week for 2023. You kept us safe and secure. You brought all stakeholders together. You opened space for inclusive and productive discussions. And this is a testament to your leadership ahead of COP28, and that leadership will be needed. For all of that, we thank you most sincerely. I want to personally thank His Excellency, Mr. Miliciades Concepcion, the Minister of Environment of Panama, for hosting this Climate Week, along with his full team. Your participation, along with the ministers from across the region, showed the world the leadership on climate change right here in Latin America and the Caribbean. I had the benefit of both being challenged and supported by quite a number of those ministers in positions they were taking and positions I was putting forward. And it was quite refreshing to see the level of knowledge, the dedication, and the passion that those ministers showed. And the willingness to engage across the board was very impressive and bodes well for the future, especially into the COP. I must also take this opportunity to thank our global partners, the World Bank, UN Environment Program, and the UN Development Program. They are always here along with us to ensure that the maximum can be done for our stakeholders. And we must recognize collaboration with partners in the region. The UN Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, the CAF Development Bank of Latin America, the Inter-American Development Bank, who I look forward to seeing a lot more of, and Euroclima Plus. Your cooperation and engagement and willingness to contribute really has made a difference. I also must acknowledge all participants, stakeholders, youth. Wow, youth, thank you very much. The level of your contribution has really skyrocketed, and I think it facilitates greater achievement for the ideals that you put forward. Event organizers here in Panama City, in all the sessions I attended, both in person and virtually, I heard insightful perspectives and robust discussions focus on a resilient future for Latin America and the Caribbean, built with clean energy, innovation, and respect for the natural world. Finally, I must recognize efforts of everyone that worked so hard to make this Climate Week happen. The success of Latin American and Caribbean Climate Week truly belongs to us all. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I stuck that one in there as a concession to my colleagues who say I never read what they write. The climate change challenge is the number one challenge of our time. To meet this challenge, we must point financial capital, human capital, and natural capital squarely at solutions. To top this off, financial contributions of all types must be brought to bear. This Climate Week shows that we have the collaboration, the innovation, and the motivation to make that happen. we need the matching contribution from all sides. It looks different for islands in the Caribbean, like my home island in the Bahamas, than it does for the rainforests of Central and South America. It looks different for megacities like Mexico City and Buenos Aires, Bogota, Rio de Janeiro, and all points in between. But regional collaboration is emerging as a powerful driver of global progress. Here at the Latin American and Caribbean Climate Week, we have seen indigenous peoples and the smallest islands come together with those from the biggest cities and vast countries. Together, we have put in place a cornerstone to build a transparent and credible response to a challenge of incredible size. Now is the moment to build on this response and accelerate climate action. Throughout the week, I have spoken with business leaders, academics, activists, UN agencies, and young people. All of them say the same thing. We want to work together on climate change. And this week has opened opportunities for that collaboration. It is now up to all of us to work together because climate action requires a whole of society and a whole of economy approach. It requires all of us. Ahead of COP28 in the UAE and our first global stocktake, this climate week is a platform to forge partnerships and advance initiatives that elevate the region as a leader in meeting our global challenge. Leadership is especially important right now. This year's COP28 in the UAE will conclude the first global stocktake. This is the moment to get on the right track to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement and to keep the 1.5-degree trajectory in reach. For the small islands, there's an opportunity to avert an existential threat. People keep using that word. It basically means they can disappear. For nations with vast forests and agricultural lands, it is an opportunity to secure a sustainable future. The world needs that sustainable future. For cities of all sizes, it is an opportunity to deliver a better future for your people. We must work together to make it happen. And from what I have seen here in Panama City, I am confident that we will. Thank you and safe journeys.
Thank you so much, Donald. Now I have the pleasure to invite to the podium His Excellency Mr. Miliciades Concepcion, Minister of Environment of the Government of Panama. Your Excellency, please join me.
Good afternoon, everyone. Everyone that is present and everyone that's participating virtually. I also would like to thank all the international organizations and banks that made this activity possible. This climate week has meant a clear opportunity to strengthen regional cooperation bonds. We've been able to understand that together we can do more. And the climate action requires the assistance of everyone. More than 3,000 participants of the entire region met to be able to address critical topics in regards to climate change. Together, we've been able to explore ideas of innovation. We've been able to share valuable experiences. And something that's very important, we've met in a common commitment, the commitment of being able to protect our home, our planet, and a legacy of resiliency. The results of the Climate Week of Latin America and the Caribbean will translate into concrete actions that will represent an increase in regards to the resiliency of our communities in the different sectors, and a very strong commitment with the reduction of emissions and also the just transition. The work ahead of us, it's huge and the urgency is undeniable. COP29 should generate a sound and concrete result that must elevate our ambitions in the fight against climate change. The first stock take, it's not only timely, but it's critical to be able to further accelerate our collective progress. The technical conclusions presented show that we've implemented a lot of actions at every front and on behalf of all the different stakeholders involved. Nevertheless, it's not enough. Now it's imperative that we must take hold of these measures to comply with long-term objectives that are established in the Paris Agreement. Today, we will close the Latin America and the Caribbean Climate Week thinking about not only what we do this week, but also in regards to what we will be able to achieve in future years, and that the solutions that we seek should not only be inclusive, but equitable, guaranteeing leaving no one behind in this transition towards low emissions, resilient to climate change economy. Latin American Caribbean Climate Week should be a catalyzer of climate action, a beacon of hope, a testimonial of our shared commitment to be able to protect our home, our planet, Earth, which is our home. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the closing ceremony for Latin American Caribbean Climate Week 2023. But before we leave, I need to give you some practical information, which is, as you know, there are a couple of events scheduled for a little bit later today, and I would like to inform you that they will continue in online mode. So please join them. There's still a few interesting discussions to be had. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of United Nations, on behalf of all our partners, I wish to thank you, Panama, all of you, for having us here. Thank you so much, everybody.